We have a growing number of young people in this country who do not subscribe to British values, in fact, loathe much of what we stand for. So what do you do?
Who are we talking about there?
Oh, I think we see them on the streets of London every Saturday.
What do they look like? Oh, we're talking about...
What do they look like?
Are we talking about Muslims here?
We are.
I just can't believe. I just can't believe what I have watched on a British TV channel, on a mainstream British TV channel. There is a racist guy, there is an Islamophobe, Nigel Farage, given platform for 13 bloody minutes, 13 minutes in the election period to spew venom against Muslims. And this is not my interpretation, and this is not anybody's interpretation. He's actually spewing venom, pure filth, poison against Muslims. I'm not saying that. This is not my bloody interpretation. This is exactly what he says. And I have problems not just because he said those things, but also because a little known party called Reform Party, whose leader is being given platform longer than the mainstream party would get it. What does it say? What is the agenda, Sky News? What is your agenda against Muslims? This is really horrifying stuff.
We have a growing number of young people in this country who do not subscribe to British values, in fact, loathe much of what we stand for. So what do you do?
Who are we talking about there?
Oh, I think we see them on the streets of London every Saturday.
What do they look like? Oh, we're talking about...
What do they look like?
Are we talking about Muslims here?
We are. And I'm afraid I found some of the recent surveys saying that 46% of British Muslims support Hamas, support a terrorist organisation that is prescribed in this country. So we've been, and what's interesting is that this Prime Minister is building up far more of that population than anybody before in history.
Really, really horrifying. If you are a Muslim and living in this country, there is absolutely every reason why you should be worried. And I'm more worried because the institutions that should have been keeping checks on these individuals have almost stopped functioning. And I'm talking about Met Police, who is more concerned about arresting somebody for carrying a coconut placard about Suella Braverman and Rishi Sunak than actually dealing with real terrorism, which is happening in the studio. And Ofcom, whose role was to come down on these channels like ton of bricks, have stopped functioning at all, is dead. It's complete anarchy. I mean, can you imagine 10 years ago, 15 years ago, could you have imagined somebody coming on a national TV channel to spew venom against the largest religious minority group in this country? And he says it not once, but on several occasions. On several occasions.
Well, this is very interesting, and we don't have that survey in front of us, but let's just unpick what you've just said. Are you sure you want to make the blanket accusation that you've just made that Muslims are somehow less patriotic than other British people? Because those people on those demonstrations are British.
Did you watch the recent elections that took place up and down the country?
We don't know that, and we don't know they support Hamas. Would you like to revisit what you said at all?
Let's be clear. There is a growing population of people in this country, a lot of them very young, who have recently been voting for and electing candidates, right, up and down the country, in inner cities, who stand for a set of values that are completely, not only don't subscribe to our values, but in many cases are totally against our values.
And then he is given a chance to clarify himself. And yet he doesn't clarify himself. He sticks to his point, i.e. blaming Muslims for everything, calling them non-British.
Is this the thrust of the reform campaign, that actually immigration means that our values are threatened, and particularly we are unhappy about Muslims? Because that is a pretty incendiary proposition.
We have never before seen anything like this. You think about West Indian immigration into Britain, the post-World War II.
I think of very little else.
West Indian immigration into Britain post-World War II. You know, there were a lot of shared things there. Shared history, shared culture, shared religion in many cases.
They are non-British because they are not Christians. They are non-British because some of them cannot speak English. The fact that he says that most of British Muslims can't speak English, he cannot substantiate it with facts. But how on earth he was given the platform by Sky News for 13 minutes to just express hatred and indulge in hate speech, pure hate speech against Muslims? Are you really proud of this guy? Don't forget, he was the guy who took Britain on the path of Brexit, and we all are suffering today. And this clown had the audacity to admit that yes, Brexit hasn't worked. And now he has come up with a new plan, even more dangerous plan, to weaponize Islamophobia.
Trying to say to me, you know, actually you guys are not really like these other guys. I mean, you and I have known each other a long time. Can you imagine how offensive that is to a British Muslim? Let me ask you to put yourself in the shoes of a British Muslim, and can you imagine how offensive that feels?
How many people from your community fail to speak English?
How many people?
From the West Indian community don't speak English.
We all speak English, but actually so do most Indian Muslims, so do pretty much all Pakistani Muslims in this country.
I can take you to streets in Oldham where virtually no one speaks English.
I've been there too, but honestly, come on.
The point I'm making is this.
Serious.
I am not here to attack the religion of Islam, but I am here.
Well, you've just been doing it for 3 minutes.
So something happens going forward, and it indeed becomes, his words actually encourage people to carry out violence against British Muslims. You know who was to be blamed for, and you know when it started. So if Met Police and Ofcom, you don't act, then shame on you, and you will be complicit in Nigel Farage's crime. History will not remember you kindly. So please, please, please act now against this guy. And dear TV channels, stop giving platform to this radical hate monger. Please stop giving platform to this hate monger and Islamophobe. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.